Hello students, welcome back to Arman Educational Tutorials. How are you all? I hope all of you are doing well. Awesome, amazing, superb, super great and mind-blowing as usual. Students, today I am going to teach you a poetry called A Psalm of Life written by Henry Wordsworth Longfellow. So students, as usually before starting the summary, I would like to explain you about the author. Henry Wordsworth, born in 1807 in Portland and died in 1882. He was one of the America's best loved poets and most popular poet in his time. Longfellow received a wide public recognition with his initial volume of verse, Voices of the Night, 1839, which contained the poem A Psalm of Life. Longfellow remains one of the most popular of American poets, especially for his simplicity of style and theme and for his technical expertise, but also for his role in the creation of an American mythology. His verse was also instrumental in re-establishing a public audience for poetry in the United States. Students, here some more information about Longfellow's poetic works. Go through it. A Psalm of Life was first published in a literary magazine called Knickerbocker in 1838. Now, what is the meaning of psalm? Psalm means a sacred song or religious song or devotional song of life. It is an invocation to mankind to follow the path of righteousness. Longfellow subtitled his poem, What the Heart of the Young Man Said to the Psalmist. Students, here in the word of psalm, P is silent, even L too. So you have to pronounce psalm. The poem is a sacred song to encourage mankind to follow path of righteousness. In this poem, the poet is expressing his thoughts and feelings about living a life and not to fear death. So students, here we go with the poetry and the summary of the poetry stanza by stanza. Listen carefully. Tell me not, in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Here the poet H.W. Longfellow addresses his poem to all his readers in general. He has a positive and motivational approach towards life. He urges us to wake up from our slumbers and make our lives meaningful. He tries to explain us that we have got the gift of life, not to lay stagnant and take it our graves. He further states that our lives will not unfold by itself and it is up to us what we make of it. According to the speaker, dying without achieving anything is not the goal of life. Our soul will really be dead if we ignore our duties, nor see things for what they really are, and let ourselves slumber away to our ends. Moving to next stanza, life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to the dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. The word numbers in the first line of the poem refers to verses in the Bible. The phrase dust thou art, to dust returnest is also a biblical reference in the book of the Genesis. God reminded Adam that he was made from the dust of the ground and that he shall return to the dust. It means poet wants the readers to believe that life should be taken seriously and is not just a dream. The goal of life is not to end up in grave. Human beings are made of dust and upon death shall become dust. However, a soul does not die. To support his ideas also, other ideas like doing one's duties, suppressing laziness and helping one's brother, etc. are influenced by Christian ideologies. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destiny in our way, but to act that each to tomorrow find us further than today. As we live each day, we should aim to move forward on our path towards our goals, instead of wasting our time on enjoyment or sorrow. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though taut and brave, still like muffled drums, are beating funeral marches to the grave. The poet calls art long because once it is created, it will never perish. It is timeless and immortal, unlike human lives which will decay or perish. The speaker says that though human hearts are stout and brave, their beating is like a warning to each one of us that our end is nearing. Moving to the next para, in the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like a dumb driven cattle, be a hero in a strife. Students, here the imagery is used to create a poetic diction, cattle and the battle. The poet compares the world to a battlefield and considers it as a temporary quarters of life similar to the quarters of an army. There would be many conflicts and one has to struggle to live the life on earth. He wants one to be a hero in the battle of life and not simply do what they are told to do like the obedient cattle. So we are on earth only for a limited period of time and whatever we wish for should be achieved while we are alive. Here we go with the next stanza. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in living present, heart within, and God overhead. In the last two lines, the poet urges us to live and act in the present and burn our past. He also advises us to stop worrying about the future. He says that our past or our future cannot help achieve our goals. We can only rely or trust the heart within our bodies and our God above to give us strength to live each day. Let's move to next stanzas. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Sublime lives indicate lives of great worth, lives which have achieved so much that they are looked up to and praised for these things, learning from the example of the lives of many great leaders and people who have lived before us. We can be sure that it is not impossible to make our lives sublime or worthy of respect. As we live, we should face the hardships in our path with determination. Only our will and persistence will help us overcome the obstacles. Also, when we overcome our perils confidently, others who face similar adversities will get courage through our example and succeed in life. Footprints that perhaps another sailing over life's solemn men, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. The word solemn men indicate tough times in life, times when a person is low and finds it difficult to cope with situations on his own. The poet uses the word brother to highlight that selfishness is one aspect of a good and healthy life. Only when we treat others the way we want to be treated, we will be able to grow personally. Being happy for someone else's success gives us a positive approach to life, which in turn helps us in our strife. Here we go with the last paragraph of the poetry. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. While we are up and doing, in other words, when we are actually striving to achieve our goals, we should also prepare our hearts for failure. We need to understand that not all efforts bear fruit. We have to accept this fact gracefully and take it in our stride as we move on in life. In the last two lines, the poet says that we should work to achieve our goals in life and not while away time. We need to learn to work hard in life, but also be patient enough to wait for the fruits of our labor. In keeping with the name of the poem, that is, A Psalm of Life, Longfellow uses a didactic tone to talk about life. The 9 stanzas use allusions to the Bible and different aspects of life, which, if we kept in mind, will help us live our lives more fruitfully. At the end, the popular appeal of Longfellow's poetry is mainly due to natural grace and beauty of his verse, and also because of the simple themes, the spirit of joy, optimism, and faith in the goodness of life that is so characteristic of his poetry. Here, students, you need to learn the vocabulary of this verse because poet has uses a lot of imagery to create visual effects to the readers throughout the poem. He tries to create a feeling for things that cannot be imagined, like war, death, pain, courage, happiness, etc. The elements of imagery reflected in the poem are simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, and parallelism. Okay, students, I hope this topic is completely clear for you. Meet you in the next session with new topic. Do not forget to leave your valuable feedback, and if you are new to this channel, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe the channel, press the bell icon to get upcoming details. And students, if you really enjoyed the explanation, express your love by hitting like button. At last, I would like to end up the video by wishing you. Wish you all the best to all of you, and God bless you all. Thank you. Keep learning.